they'll probably ask you for your permission.
No problem.
Okay, wonderful. I like the room you're in. It looks pretty sweet. Is that a studio?
Yeah, it's my little music room here at home, and I've been putzing away doing some demos and stuff today. So I've been writing some new songs, so I try and get them down and see how they hold up.
By the sounds of it, you've kept very creative during this last year of the pandemic. Hey?
Yeah. If nothing else, that's sort of forced me to get back in here and keep doing things and trying to stay active, keep the brain healthy.
It's good. It's a good thing to take that time and utilize it in a good way. One of the titles I saw of one of your songs really cracked me up. Looking for a lockdown with you.
Oh, yeah.
That.
That was a song that some friends of mine wrote. I was asked to be a part of it along with some other artists here, Michelle Wright and Aaron Goodwin and Scarlett Butler. Actually, Joni Delorier and her husband Troy Coco wrote that song as a initiative for a fundraiser for a radio station. Good old CFCW here in Alberta. So that was where that originated from, and I was asked to be a part of it. So it was fun little project.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's pretty sweet. What part of Alberta are you in?
I'm down in Red Deer here.
Oh, okay. So you're in the in-between zone.
Yes, I'm in the in-between zone. That's right. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love the donut mill. That's always my stop.
Oh, there you go.
Good times. Have you been in Red Deer for a long time now?
I've been here. Yeah. I guess we were trying to figure that out. I'm from Northern Alberta originally, up in the Peace River country, but I've lived here with my wife now for, I guess, 18 years, 19 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So Red Deer's home.
Great place.
Yeah. It's a nice little city. We love it.
Okay, sweet. I was going to ask now, since this podcast kind of goes back into the 90s a bit, and that you had a great like career happening then. And your debut album From Rockin' Horse is how your 90s kicked off, correct?
Yeah, that's right. We had a band called Rockin' Horse, and I think their album came out in 1991, somewhere in there. If I remember, 1990 or 91. Yeah.
I was trying to do some of that research and trying to get the dates right, You went solo shortly afterwards, but then how did you like the music you were making with them at the time, and what ended that venture?
Well, we were, that was our, the first sort of, one of the first bands that we put together, back in the early 80s. Some friends of mine from up I was still living in the North Peace at the time. We were basically started out as a club band. So we played the circuit, we did lots of bars and clubs and stuff like that. We played, Cook County Saloon and Ranchman's here in Alberta, among others across Canada, Western Canada primarily. And so we didn't get to writing a lot of our own music till later in our career. We were together almost 10 years, nine and a half years or something like that. But we got in the, it was always, we weren't sure, I guess, if it was going to be the career or whatever. I always wanted to be a musician and always have been, but, where we took Rockin' Horse, it was the back half of it when we got serious and started making music and writing music and recording. But I enjoyed every bit of it. We were lifelong friends and still are. And, it was just, I think the end of it became when I got offered a situation where I could move down to the States and become a staff songwriter for a publishing company. And I wanted to sort of broaden my horizons a bit, maybe, and get out of the club scene a little bit and see where I could take music on my own, maybe. So
you can't turn down an offer like that to go and experience Nashville. And
and at the time it seemed like we were sort of maybe just you know, I can't speak for the other guys, but for myself, I just kind of felt like I was spinning my wheels on a, you know, not kind of getting anywhere that I kind of wanted to be. You know, we had done an album, we had, you know, had some cool tours. We had worked with, you know, Prairie Oyster back in the day, and some artists like that. And we got to play some stages, but it just kind of got to where we had to make that next move, or, you know, kind of finish it up. And that's kind of where it was for me. So, yeah.
When you were in Nashville, did you do, obviously you were there to primarily songwrite? Were you
Yeah.
writing for yourself as well at the time, or were your songs being handpicked for other artists?
Well, what it was I met a great producer, songwriter, producer friend named Steve Bogart. He actually introduced us to Nashville. We had worked our way. The Rockin' Horse Band had worked our way out to the Canadian Country Music Week in I think it was 1991, somewhere in there, in Hamilton, Ontario, if my memory serves me. And he would come in. We were the Alberta band. We were hosting the Alberta room at the Canadian Country Music Week at that time. So every night our band would play, and people would come in and mingle and visit, and, you know, do the smooze thing. So Steve and his wife Beverly were coming in, and they enjoyed our band. And that's kind of how I got introduced to Nashville and our band and stuff. So you know, we worked together a little bit, the Rockin' Horse Band and Steve, and like I said, that sort of didn't pan out. But then I was offered an opportunity to come down there and work as a staff songwriter for Warner Chappell Music, who Steve was with in 1993. So I moved down there, and the idea was to try and get a record deal. You know, so I was writing songs primarily for myself. Some of the tunes got pitched around and stuff like that, but I never did end up getting any big cuts. We had a short-lived. We had one of my songs called "Leavin' Made Easy" that I wrote with a friend named John Robin. Had been picked up and cut by Alan Jackson, and we thought that was going to be the opening of the songwriting catalog. But it turned out he tracked it a couple times, and it didn't work for him. So.
Oh.
So I had to take back the new truck I went and bought. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, but like I said, it's worth the experience, I'm sure.
Oh, I've lost your audio.
Oh,
there you are.
There
you are.
I was gonna say,
sorry.
That's okay. I was gonna say, at least it's probably worth the experience that you had doing it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love Nashville. I loved working there, and you know, like I say, the Rockin' Horse Band was great. It's a big part of who I am and where I went in music. And I've always done music to some degree, pretty much my whole life. I started playing in a band when I was like 15 years old with my cousins and stuff. So I've always been in a band, always done music. Yeah.
You mentioned that Canadian Music Week happened to have been out in Ontario, which got me thinking, in this country, do you feel like there's certain provinces maybe that are more immersed in country music genre than others?
Yeah, well, you know, having traveled Canada for the last 30 years or so, I mean, there's a country music following and a fan base all throughout the country. But you're right, there's pockets of Ontario that are huge country music fans, and country music exists. Alberta and Saskatchewan, of course, are huge.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit in Manitoba, and some in, you know, every province has little pockets of it. But you're right. I mean, Alberta and Saskatchewan and parts of Ontario are huge for country music, and certain parts of the Maritimes too are they're avid country music fans. Yeah.
That's cool. You see, I wasn't really sure because I haven't had a chance to go out east and learn much about that. But
oh yeah,
fantastic! Yeah. I'm glad you've gotten to experience visiting all over the country.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, do you feel there's any kind of difference in the songwriting between Canadian and American country music?
That's a good question. I think the only, you know, one of the main differences, especially in the country genre, is the use of American, and where we live geographically and stuff. I mean, I'm trying to think now if I've written many country songs with US names and stuff, and I probably have, especially when I was living down there maybe, and we were writing songs for that market and stuff. But I guess, country music's country music. But there probably is, I never really analyzed that part of it that much, like, because I got to write with I've been lucky to write with some great writers out of the US and Canada. And I think at the end of the day, we all just want to write a great song, whether it's with a guitar or with a piano or whatever, that ultimately as a songwriter, you want to write a song that the whole world's going to sing one day.
Amen.
Yeah. And, I'm working towards that every day.
Yes. That's a great answer for a very complicated question, but
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I can totally see where you're coming from. Sometimes it's just replacing the name maybe of a city.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's like, in the South, especially in the country music genre, Nashville is home to a huge musical environment and people, but a lot of people tend to, that come from the South and in Nashville and stuff. They use their cities and their states and their counties and all that stuff in their songs, and they write about it. They live it out and they write about it in songs. So that's kind of, in Canada, we tend to, we do to a degree, but it seems to be more personal kind of stuff, maybe, from if I had to make a distinction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when we go back to the 90s, and 96 was an amazingly successful year for you. Now, P.O. Box 423 came out and had a string of hits for you. What is the meaning of the title?
P.O. It was it was my mailbox in Nashville. P.O. Box 423. And then I was with a friend, Spike Blake, who was a young guy that when we both moved to, he's from the US, and I'm trying to remember where he's from now, one of the northern states. But we moved down there right around the same time. He was there a couple of years before me, and had a big hit with Steve Wariner called Driving and Crying that he wrote with a friend of his and stuff. So he was entrenched a little bit. Well, we got to be songwriters, and when I had that mailbox, and we were just tossing out song ideas one day, and I don't know how the idea of my mailbox, P.O. Box 423, came up, but we decided we were going to write a song about it. And that's where it came from.
That's perfect. Well, back then, that was probably phone and mail, primary methods of communication. You might have gotten a fax.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I listen to a lot of the young people's songs now, and they're all talking about texting and Zooming and TikTok and all that stuff. It's all there and it's all valid for sure.
Yeah, it's just a sign of the times.
You weren't hearing that stuff in the 90s, that's for sure.
Nope. Yeah, exactly. Just a sign of the time. I've heard a few like early 2000 songs where people talked about their pager going off.
Yeah.
So yeah,
those annoying pagers, hanging from your belt, right?
They seemed like they were useful, but not really. I guess it just, back then everything was a landline, so I guess it just got you to the landline, right? Now, later you covered a Gordon Lightfoot track, who obviously Gordon is a Canadian treasure. Who were your musical heroes growing up? Well,
I had many musical heroes, and I think, in junior high and high school, I think I know for a fact I had one of the most eclectic album collections in my small town of Hines Creek for a kid my age. I was listening to people like David Bromberg and Rodney Crowell and Chris Christopherson, and people like that were sort of, some of the older folks were listening to people like that, but I got into it early. Rodney Crowell was a huge influence as a singer-songwriter, and the fact that he was sort of in the country genre as well. Chris Christopherson's early stuff, Gordon Lightfoot for sure. Although I didn't, we weren't singing and playing a lot of Gordon's songs, but certainly respected and loved his tunes. I mean, to me, his voice and his songs are just pure Canadiana. Like when I was living in the States, that's kind of why I went back to that song. A good friend of mine had reminded me of an album he had out called Gord's Gold, when he said, if you're ever homesick for Canada, just throw on some Lightfoot and you'll be back in Canada, just by listening to the music. And it worked, it was awesome. And so I fell in love with that song again, If You Could Read My Mind. And I thought, oh, you got to cut this song. It's just gorgeous. I think as a songwriter, that's the kind of song, we all aspire to writing one day, and that it's kind of timeless, right? It's just about a relationship gone bad, but it fits in any decade, I think, songs like that, those songs that are just timeless are just, it's perfect, really.
That's the goal, is to create something that would become timeless, such as that. So
yeah.
That's where you're coming from. Now you got to work with Lisa Brokop quite a bit, right?
Yeah. Lisa and I, we went back to the first album. I didn't really know, well, I knew who Lisa was, and I had met her a couple times prior to myself moving down there and working on my first album. But we had some mutual friends that kind of got us tied up, working on the first album. We just threw out a invitation for her to come and sing on one of the songs, Two Names on an Overpass, with us, and she graciously accepted. And I've known her ever since, and we've toured many times in Canada together and stuff. So she's a fantastic artist, world-class singer.
I'll be playing a lot of clips from some of the songs throughout the show too, so I'll definitely put in a clip of that duet.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah,
and some of the new stuff too, because we want to share what you've come out with in like recent times, so that's good. Speaking of which, what album cut have you recorded that you wish had been a single?
Oh, that's a good one. What album cut that I wish would have been a single?
You can take your time, I can edit it.
8 or 9 albums out now that are there was a song on an album I had out, I think it was 2006 or 8, called Ghost Town. And there's a song in there that I wrote with a friend of mine named Steve Fox called Living Backwards. I always thought it was a great song. And that, now that you've reminded me, I should revisit that, because I think that song could fit anywhere too. And I just think, I think we missed the boat on that. I don't know why, but I listened back and thought, no, that's a cool tune, and it's interesting, the title and the way, If I Was Living Backwards. That, I think it's that song. You should dig it up.
I will.
It's
gonna be on the show.
Yeah.
I'll play a clip of it. Hey, maybe it's never too late to keep working on that song, right?
That's one for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Do you still have your own label, Jolt Records?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. What made you
I
decide you were going to have your own label? And do you have other artists on it too?
Well, I was with Mercury. I was lucky to be with Mercury for a couple albums in the 90s and stuff. And when I came back to Canada, things were changing, and in the late 90s, the industry changed quite a bit. And I was with a huge publishing company called Warner Chappell, and we went in one day, and that whole 50% of the writers that were signed in-house at Nashville at that time were sort of let go. Not let go, but their contracts weren't picked up again. And with that, sort of record companies responded the same. So I ended up without a record deal, in early 2000, late 90s, early 2000s. So I thought, well, I have some songs. I still want to keep making music, and things weren't working out, getting a new record deal. So I just formed my own.
Get it done yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, and I've been lucky to be able to release my music here in Canada. And now, especially with the, with online, sources and Apple Music and, streaming and stuff like that, we have outlets for our music as an independent and stuff. So it's kind of all worked out. It's the thing about a major label situation is that a lot of us indies have a very struggle with is the advertising money and the being able to access certain avenues of advertising and with the big clout and stuff that those people can. So
yeah,
you kind of miss that as an indie artist, but
that's really all you need a major label for is the promotion.
Sort of,
right?
yeah.
That's what they're all about.
Yeah, that's what they are. Yeah, it's right. That's right.
Doing this podcast, I've had an opportunity to talk to a lot of artists who tell me most experiences with major labels can be pretty negative.
Yeah. Well, I think there are. I cannot say that. I had a fantastic rapport with the guy that signed me to Mercury Canada. His name was Doug Chappelle. He just passed here a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago or so. He was a fantastic record guy, and he came from being a musician and bands and stuff himself. So he kind of understood. He understood us, I think. Where and I know some record people do come from music backgrounds, but a lot of them don't these days. They come from different areas in the music business or not even. And I think it makes a difference if you get somebody like Doug was just fantastic to work with, and his whole crew is like that. His whole the A&R people and everybody over at Mercury in Canada was fantastic. Yeah,
I'm so glad you had that kind of experience. It's good to know that there's some good people up in.
Yeah, these people were some of the best. I still see them at CCMAs and at various musical events, and we're all still friends. And it's
that warms my heart. I'm glad.
yeah, that's great.
I'm glad to hear the positives.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, do you have any favorite CCMA or CMT moments from over the years that you recall?
Well, a lot of the CCMA, I think being, back in the 90s when I was, I had the record company push and there was some really good promo and stuff going on, getting to play on the CCMA awards show and doing some television all across Canada and stuff like that. And that's kind of one of the reasons I know that I still have a career in Canada, I think, is because of all of that, that happened back in the 90s. Thankfully to, my record label that kind of laid the groundwork and gave me a foundation to keep working off of after many, many years. And, but the CCMAs, the rapport with people, Canada's huge. We all know that, but, for a few days every year, the industry gets together. It's, much like the Junos and some of the other music conferences, and people just get together and enjoy each other's company and talk shop a little bit, but mostly just hang out and have a really good time. And that's some of my favorite times, is just meeting up with old friends and new friends and making new friends and stuff like that.
Well, that'd be so fun.
Yeah, you'll have to come one day.
Oh, for sure. If you
it's in Calgary coming up this next year.
There you go. That's not far. I would love to. I've been to the CCMA Awards when they were in Edmonton, but that was like 8 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah, it looked a while back.
Yeah. Now, if you could choose one newer artist to cover a Duane Steele song, which artist would you choose? And would you have a song in mind for them?
I don't know if I've got a song in mind, but there's a lots of Canadian artists I would love, Dallas Smith.
I'm a big fan.
Kissel, any of these guys like Dean Brody,
Mm-hmm.
Fort Bamford's, we've written some songs and he's covered. I've been lucky to have some success with him and stuff. But if we were looking south of the border at some American artists, I heard this guy here a couple of weeks ago, a friend of mine named Ryan Hurd. I think he's Maren Morris's husband. He's got a great sound and a great musicality about him. I really, really enjoyed. Some of those people that are up and coming like that, be nice to get on that train as a songwriter as they're evolving, and having hits and stuff like that. Is it Morgan Wallen? He's I know there was some controversy around him, but man, can that guy sing?
Yeah.
And artists like that, they've got massive followings and stuff. So and plus he just sings a great country song and convey the emotion and stuff out of it. So yeah, there's a few people out there now that I listen to and I'm like, wow. Because a lot of people complain that there's no talent anymore and there's no songs, but I disagree. I totally disagree.
Fair.
I think it's almost better than it's ever been. Like
I think it's that whole like hip hop bro country thing that some people are like they kind of steer clear of, but there's still people like Stapleton, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
Stapleton's fantastic. Yeah. And even now I noticed some of the more commercial side of Nashville's going back to, the bro country thing is, thankfully sort of disappearing a little bit. And they're starting to write, song, even if they're using their, pop and hip hop influences, they're kind of going back to more personal songs, love songs and life and relationship and stuff like that. So the songs are kind of coming back. I know the 90s were kind of all about that, not so much just everybody hanging out in the back of a pickup truck and tailgate life to death. But yeah, no, but so there's some songs out there now I hear in the radio even, and I go, wow, it's a great song. Thankfully it's breaking through.
And the ladies too.
Absolutely.
Do you know Allie Colleen?
I do not know. Oh, Allie. She just goes by Allie.
Okay. Right? She's been on the show. She's Garth's daughter. Garth Brooks' daughter. Garth Brooks' daughter.
Oh, no. I don't know her then. No.
Yeah, no, different. I know who you're talking about. Yes, Allie, Canadian
Allie
girl.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Allie Colleen.
Okay.
Yeah, but she's like that too. She's got like an old school sensibility about her music and very wonderful.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. Now, currently, tell everybody what's going on with your music, where they can hear the new stuff, what you've been putting out this year. What's going on? Well,
I put out a new album. An EP, I guess, called Bonfires and Guitars, released it to, all the platforms, the streaming platforms and stuff like that. We don't really make CDs anymore because, well, the last 2 years, we haven't had any gigs to go and play and that's kind of gone away, but so people can download and stream off the streaming platform. So I have a new EP out called Bonfires and Guitars out a couple of years ago. I just put a new single out here a few weeks ago called Daycation. It was kind of just a fun song that I wrote with a couple friends of mine up in northern Alberta. For many years, we did a songwriting seminar called Songrise up in the Peace River country, and people from all over Alberta came, young people. Tennille Towns was one of the kids that came there years ago. She worked her way up. Yeah. But anyway, so we would write songs after this seminar, myself and Dana and Sherry, it'd stay a couple days and whoever else was on the panel or whatever. So we'd write some songs, and this song kind of came from one of those writing sessions. And I kind of gave it some life again and just put it out here a few weeks ago, put it out as a single. I kind of wanted to keep things going and keep things fresh. And, every few months, I'm going to try and keep putting out some new music. So, and I've been working on some new music. Like I say, I've got a pile of tunes. I've been writing songs here over COVID. So I'm demoing those up right now, just acoustic guitar, vocals, and trying to see how they stand up and see what we can't do for our next project. Hopefully it's going to be an album.
Full album. Yeah, that's exciting. I'm so glad that you're like working hard at being creative and getting it done. So wonderful. Yeah. We have something to look forward to.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it. It feeds it kind of feeds my soul, doing stuff, doing this music thing and stuff. And whether, my favorite place to be is on stage and singing for people. That's one of my favorite places to be in terms of the music business. But if I can't do that, I enjoy this part of it too, the writing the songs and recording and stuff like that.
Well, the live shows are starting to come back. So do you have anything planned that people can go see you in the near future?
I actually, I've got a couple shows with my friend Gord Bamford here coming up next week. We are in St. Paul and Birch Hill, Saskatchewan. I'm going to be doing an opening set for Gord's concerts on those. I'm actually going into the Mayfield Dinner Theater at the first part of the new year. We're reprising a show called Nashville Outlaws. I did it 12 years ago. Sweet. And it's the story of Waylon Jennings and Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson. And I was asked to be a part of it 12 years ago, and we had such a blast doing it. They're bringing it back, and so I'm going to do that this year again.
That's cool.
It's fun. That's another element of the biz that, up until then I had never really done any theater or anything like that. And thankfully they're just letting me sing and, I have some dialogue, I have lines and stuff like that as Waylon Jennings, but it's an interesting thing. It's fun.
I'll have to tell my buddies about it. Finally, something's happening that's actually in my area. Yeah. So that's amazing. Speaking of being in Alberta, are you born and raised in Alberta?
Yes, I was born up in Fairview, Alberta, raised in the Peace Country. A little town called Hinds Creek is where I grew up and went to school. And Hinds Creek is a town about population, I would say 350 plus dogs and cats. On a busy Saturday night, it might be all the way up to 400.
Hamlet.
At Hamlet, that's right, yeah.
The Alberta Hamlet. Where would you tell someone who is visiting Alberta where they need to go and see, like as a tourist? Where would you direct?
Alberta's huge, as we know, but and I've been that's one of the kickbacks of being a musician is that I've got to travel all over Canada. We have such a beautiful country, and Alberta is right at the top of the list. Right from the Badlands, right from actually the plains south of Calgary, down the southern plains, right up through the Badlands at Drumheller and over to the Rocky Mountains, and then swing up through here through central Alberta. And into the north, it's that river valley up in Edmonton is stunningly beautiful. I would suggest you take a drive the province, see it all, see the Rocky Mountains, see the Badlands, see the central Alberta, see the the north. We've got beautiful timberlands up in the northern Alberta, and the Peace River that's holds a big place in my heart, the Peace River up in northern Alberta. And it's just it's a beautiful place.
That's fantastic. My mom's gone around to drive around through her retirement, and she's putting together a book of photos of all the like the Ukrainian egg and the land pad, and like she's just making like this just to do it in her retirement. So it's sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen all those things, and they're awesome, and I love it. I chuckle sometimes. You just go, oh, that's just such an interesting.
The Mundare sausage and things like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
We have so many of those. To wrap things up, I wanted to ask you, what food, clothing item, toy, etc., would make you nostalgic for the 90s?
Oh, what food?
Yeah. Any of those types of
Oh,
things.
nostalgic. Oh my goodness. That is a good question.
That's what I
What
like to end
food?
every interview on.
The 90s. I'm trying to think back of something that really pertains to the.
Even if
I
it's
miss.
not. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, this might be lame, but I kind of miss going. You know, when I moved away in the 90s and I moved down to Tennessee for a few years, record stores were still a huge thing. You know, the albums and CDs and stuff like that. And I used to spend hours going through, you know, record stores and buying new music and stuff like that. And to me, you know, that kind of ended in the 90s or towards the end of it. And I'm like, you know, just Tower Records, A&B Sound. I remember there was an A&B Sound on the south end of Edmonton there all the time. I could not drive out of town without stopping at that place. And I love places like that. So give me a record store again.
There's nothing lame about that. Me too. I miss that experience. And I got so many cool imports at A&B Sound. They always had some of those. And you didn't always, they would order in anything you wanted, but they just had them. I remember spending a lot of time there at HMV. I was like,
yeah, exactly. HMV too. Like,
that experience.
Trying to think of the big record store that was out in Toronto on Yonge Street.
Sam's
Sam the Record Man. What an awesome. And I think it's still that one on Yonge Street might still be open, but
that'd be amazing.
I haven't been to Toronto for a while, but hopefully it is. But yeah, those things just get me excited.
Legendary.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them have made the smart move, the ones that still exist, by switching to a vinyl thing where you just buy vinyl, right?
Yeah.
For $40 a record.
I know. It's a little over the top for sure. Or a lot over the top.
Quite a bit.
Expensive, yeah.
I really appreciate
I own 4 albums.
Do you?
Yeah, if you have 10 albums, you got $400 worth of music there. You know, it's like if you're paying that kind of money. But no, I do have vinyl still. You know, I dig it up by places.
Yeah, because sometimes you can still find, like, I found Bryan Adams' Reckless for like $4. Scoop that up.
Oh yeah.
You know, Blue Rodeo album here. And
yeah.
Thriller, like, it's pretty cool. You can find these things.
Those are great albums too.
I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope you had fun. It was a great chat.
Thank you for inviting me to come on here. That's awesome, Naomi. I appreciate it.
For sure. And when you're up here and doing the show at the dinner theater, I'll see if I can get a crew to come out and check it out.
Please do. It's a fun show. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And they always treat everybody pretty good over there at the Mayfield. So that's awesome.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will be putting this out probably within about a month-ish.
Yeah. Please let me know when you're going to do that so I can do it and share it and all that stuff.
Perfect. I'll do that. And then I'll send you a message the week before. So just let you know that I'll be tagging you in the social media. And
perfect.
We'll have a great episode. Thank you again.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. You have a great rest of your day.
You too. Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.